Hi, I'm Eric Vetaplace, and I'm showing you the Arca Plus plugin. This is step 3, where we have an application already imported. Show that in step 1, and I'm just going to go through a few of the details of sort of what you do once it's in Eclipse, and then I'm going to show you the export. So just looking briefly at this diagram of this bank none demonstration sort of application I built, it copied the application in. One of the things we do is that I went and did, I added in grammars, and I imported also the phrases from the application. Oops. And just for an example, let's look at this get pin step here. And the GUI elements are set. I'm using something called the pin grammar. The prompt is enter pin, and it's storing the result in a field called pin. If you look over here in the application, I added this pin grammar, which is saying to look at these external files. These are going to be files in your file system somewhere, the pin DTMF grxml, which is an XML grammar file, and the pin voice file. And of course, enter pin is a phrase, enter your 4-digit pin. The sound file will be a namesake of the name of the file, of the phrase. Some other details here. Let's see. We have the database up here validating the account. That just has all of the information captured from the imported application. We didn't have to touch it or recode it. It'll be exported. It'll recognize it that it's been imported, and it's sort of in a native format, so it'll take it and export it as we need it. Here's another native function from the evip application. There's about 200 expressions that you can do for manipulating data inside of evip. They're little functions, and so we've created a JavaScript library in the target platform we're going over in a minute. And in this step here, basically we're adding 1 to a variable called invalid counter. Let's export this. Export to Convergys. Okay, now let me create a new project here. Let me just explain something. The Arca plugin for Eclipse, it's pretty lightweight. It's about 5 meg, and so it can be installed together with the Interaction Composer Eclipse development environment for IC. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new IC application project here. Okay, and let me go take a look at the files that were exported. First, let me expand this project. So without getting into the details of a typical project, I'm just going to go in here to the messages. There's no messages in here right now. There's no variables defined. Okay, well actually we can close that part now. So what I'm going to do here is take the files that were generated, and we have these. First we have the messages. I'm going to replace this messages file. We have the variables that were defined, and we have this ICXML document. You can just drop it into your project, and it will build a diagram for you. So let's move this aside. So you can see here, let's get that out of the way. It went ahead and created the application over again. Let's take a look at this step here. You can see in this step here, let's see, it created enter pin, it created the prompt, enter your 4-digit pin. The grammars were imported and defined here. It's saving out to the variable. It's actually, let's see, that part is wrong there, so let me go ahead and fix it. And see the variables haven't been imported, and in this database step up ahead, you can see it's doing the SQL statement. And it's also binding parameters, application variables. That's all defined in the set. Up here is the full application, sort of we described in step 1. This is if the database record, if the user account wasn't found here, if we look up here in this counter, you could see that. Let me give a little more room to this here. You can see that it imported the. Let's see. This is the raw details. Just so as a reminder, this is the information from what was imported from the evip application. But down below here, we set up the script properly to go ahead and to bind the application variables. Invalid counter is the variable in the app here, and we're sort of using the function. We've created a library to convert all of the evip expressions into JavaScript functions. We have a whole library that handles that. So basically, this is handling the add functionality that used to be provided by the evip platform. It's now available in the IC application. So it basically handles everything you need. There's some other spaces, like if this is an application where evip provides another layer of abstraction where mapping parameters being passed in to variables, that's not really it doesn't work the same way in IC. So we added an extra step here to make sure if there's any parameter mapping going on, it's handled properly and mapped to the proper variables within the application. And the same thing when you're exiting, when you're hitting the end steps, it does the mapping for you to keep the parameters sort of bound properly to their variables. So that's at a high level basically it. It's so you can see that the evip application that was imported into Arca, all the information was preserved that was in the initial application, and we're able to export it and have it all generated in the IC apps, which really dramatically reduces the development time and helps minimize the effort needed to move off of evip and get your application onto IC.